feelings and really like emotional, you guys, because we've been working on this for so long, and this is, today one of our first times to really talk about it and share the experience. Working with Alex is really great because he is so skilled at taking in every piece of information he can and turning that into something he can use in his performance. So when I see a show for the first time, whether I've had source material or not, the thing that I am making note of personally is my emotional responses to every moment as I'm watching it in Japanese with subtitles or with a translation document. I make note of those things because I feel it is my responsibility to make sure the English speaking audience has those same emotional experiences when they hear it in their own language. And so for Alex playing Chinu, it's not about his tone matching Taito Bonds. It's not about being the English voice match for the Japanese person. It's who, as a performer, can pull off the feats that the Seiyu also has. And the way Alex absorbs Taito Bond's performance and then pulls it out of himself is kind of, that's exactly what I'm looking to do. Let's hit all of the same emotional beats. And so he's taking note of how he is affected. And so I think we already were working in the same way as professionals and didn't know it until you stuck us together. And now here we are.
That's incredible.
What does it take out of you? How heavy is it to not only have to watch it and then repeat it?
Right.
Yeah. Well, something I really felt attached to in the scene where he gets sacrificed at the altar is that he really didn't mean to do that. It's not like he went into this. Yeah. I've heard the saying that there's always like a heroic arc where it's we want to be selfless, we want to be heroes, we want to sacrifice ourselves, we want to save our friends. But I feel like in this case, even though he is a good kid with a good heart and he does want those things, he also just wants to go home.
Yeah.
Right.
He really didn't mean to get stabbed by like 20 giant statues and stuff like that. And I felt like something that spoke to me so much about this scene is how much of a victim of circumstance we often are. We find ourselves in these crazy situations and we feel like it's us against the world. And for me, to have a character who isn't like fighting just for the sake of being a hero or just for the sake of being a good person, but there's also this selfish side to him that shows up. I found that really, really fascinating, and it's something that I personally connected to a lot because I remember in my journey, not just as a voice actor, but as somebody who was coming into their own, who's been living alone since he was 14. I've often felt like this is so unfair. Why does everybody else get to do this and then I have to do this? So on the surface level, he's like, it's fine. Everything's fine. It's good, You want to be nice. You're like, you know what? Yeah, go do that. Go save yourself. I get it. I would too. But then when it comes down to it and we see him alone and he's actually now finally in his thoughts, he's so resentful and so angry and so filled with like hatred. And I was like, I remember this feeling and I know what it's like. And I was like, this is something that really clicks with me. And it's not something that I've seen a lot of shonen or even, anime protagonists project because I feel like it could be perceived as a negative emotion. But I like it. I like that it's a negative emotion because it shows more than one side to him. And that's why I feel like a lot of viewers who watch this are also going to be like, you know what? That is unfair. Yeah. Forget that.
In that scene in particular, I don't think it had clicked with me until we were doing it, until Alex was performing it, just emotionally what it really meant for Ginu, a lot of what Alex just expressed to you. To read it, as a reader, I was like, oh man, this sucks. This is the lead guy. What's going to happen to him? And like, I know there's a whole bunch of webtoon to come. So like, he's not going to die. But still, like, this is so sad. I just felt kind of a general sadness and then a curiosity of what's going to happen. So I was very just struck and entirely moved when Alex started performing it. And it really did hit me that the reason this sucks isn't just because he's dying, but the unfairness of it all
Yeah.
and the injustice of it all, and then how completely relatable that emotion is for all humans.
Yeah.
And not just, I mean, I don't think many of us have been faced with a situation where you're going to die now.
Fair.
But other things in our lives, we do everything right. Everything we know how to do, that's right. And we still get the short end of the stick at work and relationships, et cetera, et cetera. And I was overwhelmed by how much, like, my soul resonated with that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the really big, heavy lines, Alex only maybe did them twice. And I'm glad it was only twice, because I don't think I could have listened to it anymore. To the point where there were multiple times during reviewing that mix, I just had to stop and walk away. And that is a true testament to the power of the performance, because we're used to, as ADR directors, listening and re-listening and re-listening. And normally you would become desensitized. You've heard that scream, that cry, that little, voice shake so many times. It just kept affecting me more deeply and more deeply and more deeply. I gotta help you right back. Ooh, man,
We're not gonna finish this today.
I feel like that's what tells you that, like, this is something special. This is something new.
Yeah.
Thank you guys both for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that was great.
That means a lot. We are gonna have some fun.
Yeah. Fun
Shake
time.
it up a little bit.
Fun time.
Get out the
fun time.
props. No, no pop comedy.
We switched to a game show.
No giant foam cowboy hat, no?
Okay, so picture this.
Yeah.
You wake up tomorrow in the world of solo leveling.
Yeah.
Which party role would you want to be? I am always going to go Ranger, because it was the first D&D class I ever played, and it's the only one I know how to play. So Hunter's Mark. But so Ranger within the confines of solo leveling is probably what I would go with.
Yeah.
What about you?
Whenever I watch shows, any kind of show, it doesn't have to be something that's kind of game oriented at all. I'm always drawn to the big, loud characters.
Yeah.
They are my favorite, and I think if I were suddenly tossed into a world like this, I'd like to be something very unlike my natural self, which is very thoughtful, and I'm trying to figure stuff out. Very director-like. I just want to be the big, loud thing that rushes in. So a tank.
Tanker?
Yeah, just want to be a tank.
Yeah.
Smack stuff around and beat it up and yell at it. That's me.
A couple years ago, my answer might have been different, but nowadays I find myself so tired that I don't want to do anything. So if I was tossed into the world of solo leveling, I would probably be a healer, because we're not doing dungeon runs. We're gonna go become a doctor, but you don't have to go to school for it. You just go baboo. Somebody is healed.
All right, Lee, now it's your turn.
Okay. Oh man, I think I'd probably be a fighter. Probably also inspired by. So was that your first solo dungeon in episode 3 where you just wailing on wolves? Yeah, I just want to have some fisticuffs with some wolves.
Crazy. I gotta tell you, when we recorded that scene, and it wasn't my first time knowing about the scene, but it was my first time seeing it. Just to see him start wailing on that, I was like, oh damn!
Yeah, I'm watching
the way they animated it. He was like,
Punching him in the face.
Legally, we do not condone animal violence.
No.
It's a monster with steel jaws.
That's right.
Yeah.
Monstrosity.
It's a
Exactly.
monster.
So I'm watching it and I was like, man, he just gave him the Mike Tyson 2-piece and a biscuit. This seems fun. I'm gonna do this. So yeah. So
One of my favorite lines in that scene is when he suddenly does a back handspring.
Yeah.
And Alex is like, oh, I want to say this instead. I forget what was written. And he changed it to, I can do that? I'm like, that is real. That's so great.
It really is.
I love that. Well, thank you both for joining us on the show this week.
This has been so fun.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys.
Yeah, please come back literally at any time. But yeah, everyone, if you haven't already, go check out the Solo Leveling English dub. New episodes every Saturday on Crunchyroll. And we will be right back with more recommendations for the week, including something I think Solo Leveling fans will really be into.
Yeah.
Stick around.
Thanks again, guys.